In a single unthinkable moment, Prince William, heir to the throne, signs a document that will ignite a firestorm within the royal family. What could possibly drive him to strip his stepmother Camilla of her prestigious patronages? The world is watching, and the palace is on edge. This isn't just a royal decision, it's the beginning of a monumental shift. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. William's signature, sharp and deliberate, marks a turning point in royal history. The document, prepared in haste and signed just minutes before its public unveiling, sends shockwaves throughout the family and beyond. Camilla, who has worked tirelessly to secure her position in the monarchy, is left blindsided. The titles she held, the influence she had meticulously built, are suddenly and ruthlessly stripped away. Her role, long considered solid, is now under grave threat. It's a stark reminder that in the monarchy nothing is permanent, especially when the future of the crown is at stake. Tensions have been mounting for some time, but no one could have predicted that William, who once stood as his father's loyal successor, would make such a move. This isn't just about patronages, it's about control, legacy, and power. The document, a carefully calculated strike, reveals the deep rift between the heirs. William, a man once seen as steadfast and respectful, now stands as a challenger to his father's rule. The royal family's future hangs in the balance, and the fractures that have always existed between father and son are now on full display. William's act of defiance cannot be ignored. It sends a clear message that the monarchy will no longer be ruled by tradition alone. There is a new force rising, a force that will not be easily dismissed. But it's not just William's actions that are making waves. Catherine's involvement in the signing of the document raises even more questions. The Duchess of Cambridge, who has long been regarded as a graceful and supportive figure, is now becoming a key player in this royal power struggle. Her quiet strength, once seen as secondary to William's ambitions, is suddenly thrust into the spotlight. What role does she truly play in this decision? Is she simply supporting her husband? Or is there a larger plan at work, one that could see her rise to greater heights? The public and the palace alike are left speculating about her influence, and whether she too is positioning herself for a future where she holds far more than just a ceremonial title. As the news spreads, the reaction from within the palace is as divided as the family itself. Some within the royal court quietly applaud William for taking a bold step, for showing a willingness to challenge the status quo and secure his place as the future king. Others, however, fear the ramifications of such a drastic move. The monarchy, they argue, has always been about unity, about maintaining appearances and tradition. William's sudden action threatens that fragile unity, placing the family at the center of a public spectacle that may prove impossible to control. This decision is not just a blow to Camilla's standing, it is a direct challenge to the entire institution of the monarchy. Leaks from palace insiders suggest that this decision didn't come out of nowhere. Whispers have circulated for months about William's growing frustration with the way the monarchy has been run. As the royal family navigates an increasingly complex world, old structures and old loyalties are beginning to crumble. The fight for control of the monarchy is no longer just about who sits on the throne, it's about who holds the power behind the scenes. William's decision to strip Camilla of her patronages is just the beginning. The tension between father and son, once an undercurrent of royal life, has now boiled over into a public clash. What comes next? The palace, once a symbol of stability, is now on the brink of chaos. As the public waits to hear more about this explosive move, the palace begins to unravel. What led to this moment? And what does it mean for the future of the monarchy? There's a war brewing in the corridors of power. Prince William's action isn't a rash decision, it's a calculated strike in a long-running battle for control of the monarchy. But who is really pulling the strings behind closed doors? And where does Catherine fit into this royal drama? The world has watched as William has slowly but surely ascended to the throne in waiting. But this move, this sudden cancellation of Camilla's patronages, has set off a chain reaction that no one saw coming. Behind the palace walls, tensions have been simmering for months, if not years. The fractures between William, Charles, and Camilla run deep, and every carefully crafted word, every gesture, seems designed to provoke, to challenge the established order. The weight of this moment is heavy. and the consequences of William's actions are impossible to predict. The secret meetings between William and Catherine have become the stuff of whispers in royal circles. They speak in hushed tones, sharing their concerns, their dreams, their plans for the future. Catherine, ever the diplomat, is the quiet force behind her husband's bold moves. But how much influence does she truly wield? Was this decision to strip Camilla of her patronages hers as much as William's? Her loyalty is now being tested like never before. The media, the public, and the court alike wondered just how much Catherine's quiet strength and calculated patience have shaped William's choices. Some see her as a loyal wife supporting her husband's decisions. Others see a woman who has found her own ambitions intertwined with her husband's path. What's clear is that Catherine is no longer just standing by William's side. She's playing a role in this dramatic unfolding of events. Inside the palace, the royal advisors are caught in a difficult position. They must navigate a delicate balance between supporting the next generation of monarchs and protecting the family's legacy. Some argue that William is making a bold, much-needed change, one that could secure the monarchy's future by placing it in the hands of a new, more dynamic generation. Others are horrified by the potential fallout. Stripping Camilla of her titles and influence could destabilize the entire family, potentially costing the monarchy its public support. The old guard, represented by Charles and Camilla, has long dominated the family's inner workings. But with William's unexpected actions, it's clear that a shift is occurring. The lines are being drawn, and the battle for the future of the crown is now in full swing. Public opinion is torn. On one side, there are those who view William as a brave and decisive leader, someone willing to make the hard choices necessary to secure a future for the monarchy. To them, he's a man who is unafraid to challenge the past, to break from tradition if it means ensuring the royal family remains relevant in the modern world. On the other hand, there are those who see him as a reckless usurper, someone who is playing with fire and risking the monarchy's stability for his own ambitions. The media has latched onto this divide, fueling the flames of public discord with every new headline. It's clear that the royal family's future is hanging by a thread, and no one knows which way the public will turn. This isn't the first time that the monarchy has been split between the old guard and the new generation. For years, Charles and Camilla have represented the establishment, the monarchy as it has always been, steady, traditional, and unchanging. But William and Catherine are different. They represent something new, something fresh. The public sees them as the future, but that future is now in jeopardy. The battle between the old and the new is no longer just a battle for power. It's a battle for the very soul of the monarchy. Will William's decision be the catalyst for the change he seeks, or will it be the spark that burns everything down? As the royal family scrambles to respond, the power dynamics begin to shift. But this isn't just about William's decision. It's about the legacy he's trying to forge. For years, Camilla has fought to cement her place within the royal family, but this one decision shatters her standing. Her once promising role as queen consort is slipping through her fingers. The palace turns its back on her. How far will she go to reclaim what was so brutally taken? Camilla's journey to the throne was never an easy one. From the very beginning, she was scrutinized by the public, ridiculed for her past, and seen as a divisive figure within the royal family. But over time, through calculated moves and careful maneuvering, she began to win over key figures and the public alike. She carved out a role for herself that many once thought impossible. She became an influential figure in the monarchy, finally gaining a foothold in an institution that had long rejected her. But now, in one fell swoop, all that hard work and perseverance has been torn away. The patronages she held, once symbols of her growing influence and power, have been stripped from her. It is a devastating blow, not just to her status but to her identity within the royal family. The emotional toll on Camilla is unimaginable. She had fought too long and too hard for her place at the top, only for it to slip through her fingers at the hands of her own family. The once steady and secure queen consort now faces an uncertain future. The documents that were signed, stripping her of her roles, are more than just pieces of paper. They represent the collapse of her position, a personal and professional defeat she could never have prepared for. The loss cuts deeper than anyone can imagine, Camilla had envisioned herself as an integral part of the monarchy for years to come. Now that dream is in tatters, and the palace, once her domain, has turned its back on her. Behind closed doors, the confrontation with Charles is inevitable. She demands an explanation, her voice trembling with anger and betrayal. How could he allow this to happen? How could he, the very man she had stood by through thick and thin, allow their son to strip her of her standing? Their marriage, already fragile, begins to show cracks. Charles, ever the reluctant monarch, is caught in a delicate position. He has his own fears about the future of the monarchy, and his loyalty to his son William has placed him in direct conflict with his wife. The emotional distance between Charles and Camilla, once easily hidden behind the public's adoration, becomes painfully clear in this moment of crisis. The king is torn. Does he protect his wife and maintain the fragile unity of the royal family? Or does he side with the future of the monarchy, embodied in William's bold moves? As the royal family begins to fracture, rumors start to swirl about Camilla's retaliation. How far will she go to reclaim what was taken from her? Speculation runs rampant about her potential moves behind the scenes. Who can she rely on in the palace, and what allies does she still have? Some whisper that she will stop at nothing to secure her place once again, using any means at her disposal to undermine William's decision. Perhaps she will strike at him in the one area that could truly hurt him, the monarchy's future itself. The royal court watches anxiously, unsure of what she might do next. But one thing is certain, Camilla is not a woman to be underestimated. She is still dangerous, still capable of turning the tables in ways no one expects. Public opinion on Camilla is divided. To some, she is a tragic figure, unfairly vilified by the public for something she could not control. To others, she is a woman who used manipulation and deceit to climb the ranks of an institution that never truly accepted her. For some, Camilla represents a beacon of resilience. But for others, she is a symbol of everything that is wrong with the monarchy. The media portrays her as both a victim and a villain, a paradox that confuses and fascinates the public. Her story has become the ultimate royal drama, a tale of betrayal, ambition, and survival. But perhaps the most painful consequence of this betrayal is Camilla's increasing isolation within the royal family. Once the power player who wielded significant influence, she is now left on the outside, looking in. Her position, so carefully cultivated over the years, is no more. The other members of the royal family, once her allies, now seem distant, and she is left to navigate a world that has turned its back on her. The same palace that once embraced her now feels cold and indifferent, a place where she is no longer welcome. Her future in the monarchy is uncertain, and the path ahead is full of challenges. As Camilla's empire crumbles, the monarchy's future is thrown into doubt. But the repercussions of this decision ripple far beyond the royal walls. What will the royal family look like in the wake of William's drastic move? How far will the monarchy go to preserve its unity, and how many more will be sacrificed along the way? Only time will tell. Catherine has always been seen as the quiet and graceful duchess, but now, she's showing a side that's more cunning and calculating. Is she truly loyal to her husband, or is she positioning herself for something much greater? The document that William signed has set off a chain of events that will put Catherine in the spotlight. For years, Catherine has been the steady, supportive figure standing by her husband, never one to overstep or draw attention. But beneath the calm exterior, there is more than meets the eye. The winds of change have begun to blow within the monarchy, and Catherine's subtle but powerful role in the royal family's political landscape is becoming clearer by the day. Her actions now seem far more deliberate, her intentions far more calculated. No longer is she just the poised duchess. She is a player in the Game of Thrones, and the rules are changing. Her involvement in William's decision to cancel Camilla's patronages is not as passive as it once seemed. While many assumed Catherine was simply supporting her husband's bold actions, there's growing evidence to suggest she has been far more instrumental in shaping that decision. As the monarchy shifts, Catherine's role within it is evolving. What was once a secondary position, marked by quiet diplomacy and public appearances, is now becoming a more strategic one. Her influence in royal decision-making, once overlooked by both the public and palace insiders, is beginning to take shape in the most unexpected ways. Every move she makes, every word she speaks, is being scrutinized. But what about Catherine's personal ambition? Does she have a grand plan of her own? Many are now asking whether her loyalty to William is simply a means to an end, a calculated move to further her own rise. Is she working towards a position of even greater power within the monarchy? Speculation about her ambitions is mounting, with whispers circulating that Catherine's actions are not just about supporting William, but about setting herself up for a future where she could become the true power behind the throne. As the public and the palace watch, Catherine's calm demeanor hides a razor-sharp intelligence, and it's becoming clear that she is not just a passive observer in this unfolding drama. The royal advisors, once dismissive of Catherine's subtlety, are now paying attention. With the monarchy in flux, her relationship with key advisors and royal figures is becoming increasingly significant. Her ability to maintain her composure and present a united front with William has earned her respect and fear. There is a growing belief that Catherine is positioning herself as an undisputed power in her own right, one who is shaping the future of the monarchy. Her actions are no longer seen as secondary to her husband's. They are being viewed as part of a larger strategy, one that could change the very structure of the royal family. Catherine's rise is not just about her standing beside William. It's about her creating a space for herself at the center of the monarchy's decision-making process. Her influence, once considered secondary, is now being recognized as essential. The quiet Duchess has become an unexpected force, one whose decisions could ripple through the royal family for years to come. What began as a supporting role has evolved into something much more powerful. Catherine is no longer just William's wife, she is becoming the key player in the game of power, and the monarchy is beginning to shift beneath her feet. Catherine's calculated rise is just one part of a larger picture. With her newfound power, the monarchy's hierarchy is beginning to change in ways no one could have predicted. The royal family may be accustomed to scandal, but the sudden cancellation of Camilla's patronages has unleashed a storm of outrage. The court is divided, and the public is questioning everything they thought they knew about the monarchy. Will this backlash lead to an irreversible rift? Inside the palace, the atmosphere is charged with tension. Camilla's allies, long-standing figures who once formed the cornerstone of her support, now feel utterly betrayed. They stand in shocked silence, unable to comprehend how the family they swore allegiance to could turn on one of their own so abruptly. There are whispers in the corridors, as former friends and confidants begin to distance themselves. Those who once sang her praises are now scrambling to salvage their own positions, leaving Camilla to fend for herself. The monarchy, it seems, is tearing itself apart from the inside. Outside the palace walls, the public's reaction is just as volatile. Some applaud William's boldness, seeing him as a decisive leader who is unafraid to challenge the past and make sweeping changes. His supporters believe this is the first step in a new era, one where the monarchy can finally break free from the weight of tradition and move toward a more modern future. But for every cheer, there is an equal outcry. Detractors accuse William of overstepping his bounds, claiming he has betrayed his family in the pursuit of power. They argue that stripping Camilla of her patronages is not just an attack on her, but a dangerous gamble with the very stability of the royal family. Is William's ambition clouding his judgment? Has he misunderstood the gravity of his actions? Meanwhile, Charles finds his position as king growing ever more fragile. The humiliation of his wife being publicly stripped of her roles is a devastating blow, and the fallout is taking a personal toll. His authority, already tenuous, is being undermined by his own son. The father and son, once allies in the struggle to preserve the monarchy, now stand on opposite sides of an ideological divide. Where Charles is bound by tradition, William is determined to forge a new path. The media seizes on this division, amplifying the public's growing uncertainty about Charles's ability to lead. How can a king already so emotionally compromised hold the monarchy together when his own family is falling apart? This clash between the old royal guard and the new, more modern heirs is becoming impossible to ignore. The palace is now a battleground, with each faction vying for control. The old guard, led by Charles and Camilla, represents the monarchy's long-standing traditions and values, while William and Catherine stand for change, for breaking free from the constraints of the past. It's a battle of generations, with each side determined to shape the future of the royal family according to their own vision. The court has never been so divided, and the cracks that have long existed beneath the surface are now impossible to hide. As the media frenzy escalates, the public's insatiable thirst for scandal grows. Every detail of the royal family's internal strife is pored over, dissected, and broadcast to the world. Speculation runs rampant. What's next for Camilla? Will she retaliate against William's decision? Will Charles make a bold move to reclaim his authority? The palace, once an icon of stability and grandeur, now stands on the brink of chaos. The monarchy's image has been irreparably damaged, and questions about its future are growing louder with every passing hour. As the backlash intensifies, one question looms. Will the monarchy be able to weather this storm, or will it collapse under the weight of its own scandal? In a single act of defiance, Prince William has thrown everything he's ever worked for into question. The cancellation of Camilla's patronages isn't just about royal power, it's about the future of the monarchy itself. What kind of king will William become, and what price is he willing to pay to secure his throne? As William's signature marks a pivotal moment in the history of the British royal family, the world watches with bated breath, waiting to see how he will navigate the fallout. Is he a reformer, daring to modernize the monarchy, or is he a revolutionary, willing to tear down the very institution in his pursuit of power? His motivations are unclear, even to those closest to him, and the more people speculate, the more the kingdom feels the tremors of uncertainty. This moment, this bold and reckless act, has already changed everything between father and son. For years, Charles and William shared a strained but functional relationship, both bound by duty and the shared goal of maintaining the monarchy's stability. But now, that fragile foundation has cracked. William's decision to strike at Camilla, to strip her of her roles, is a direct challenge to Charles's authority, and in a way his very legacy. The old king stands at a precipice, his reign threatened not by foreign enemies, but by the very blood he shares with his son. Can a monarch survive this type of public humiliation from his own flesh and blood? How will Charles respond? The loyalty of key royal allies is now in question. Who will stand with William, and who will side with his father in this monumental clash? The entire court is divided, and the outcome of this battle will define the future of the British crown. The burden of legacy weighs heavily on William's shoulders. This is not a moment he can undo, no matter how it plays out. His actions will forever be linked to the moment he challenged not just Camilla, but the very structure of the monarchy that has been in place for centuries. Whether he is ultimately celebrated as a bold reformer or condemned as a reckless destroyer will depend on the choices he makes in the days and months to come. The echoes of his decision will ripple through history, and the monarchy as an institution may never be the same. No one can predict where his actions will lead, but there's no denying that this is a turning point, the beginning of a new chapter, whether for better or worse. Speculation about the future of the royal family runs rampant. Will William's bold actions set the monarchy on a new course, bringing in a more progressive, modern era? Or will his decision doom the institution he is supposed to lead, leaving it in a state of disarray and disillusionment? No one can say for sure. What is certain, however, is that William's choices will determine whether the monarchy adapts to the changing world or crumbles under the weight of its own history. The future of the royal family is now uncertain, and with each passing day, the stakes grow higher. The emotional cost for William is immense. The pressure he faces, both from within the family and from the public, is unlike anything he has ever experienced. His every move is scrutinized, his every decision dissected. In private, he struggles with the fallout, his relationship with his father now strained, his standing within the family precarious. How will he handle the emotional toll of being the catalyst for such a divisive moment? Can he maintain his resolve, or will the weight of his actions become too much for him to bear? This is no longer just about the future of the monarchy, it's about the man who is fighting to shape that future, regardless of the cost. As William stands at the crossroads of his destiny, the question of his reign looms large. How will he be remembered in comparison to Charles? Will history look back on him as a visionary who redefined the monarchy, or will he be seen as a man who tore apart the very institution he was meant to preserve? The comparison between father and son is inevitable, but it's also unfair. Charles' reign has been shaped by tradition and stability, while William's is being defined by radical change and uncertainty. The future remains unwritten, and both men's legacies hang in the balance. As the future of the monarchy hangs in the balance, all eyes are on William. But what happens next will be shaped by forces beyond his control. As the monarchy teeters on the edge of collapse, Charles is faced with a bitter truth. His son William has made a move that could undo everything he's worked for. His reign is now threatened, and his family is torn apart. How far will Charles go to preserve the crown? The weight of betrayal presses down on him as the reality of his son's actions sinks in. For years, Charles has walked the delicate line between duty and desire, between loyalty to his family and his responsibilities as king. But now, with the stroke of a pen, William has shattered any illusion of unity within the royal family. The patronages stripped from Camilla, his wife, represent more than just a political maneuver. They symbolize the disintegration of the foundation Charles has worked so hard to build. This isn't just about losing power, it's about losing his place in the family he has spent a lifetime trying to hold together. And as the weight of that loss settles in, Charles finds himself questioning everything. In the privacy of the palace, Charles confronts William. The room is thick with tension as father and son exchange words, sharp and heavy with the weight of years of unresolved conflict. The anger is palpable, but so is the deep, unspoken hurt. Charles can't hide his betrayal, not just as a king, but as a father. William's decision has shattered the fragile respect they had for one another, and Charles's fury is only matched by his profound disappointment. He had always believed, perhaps naively, that William would one day take the throne with a sense of reverence. But now, that dream is crumbling before him. This confrontation isn't just about the loss of Camilla's patronages, it's a clash of ideologies, a stark divide between tradition and the future. The royal family, once a cohesive unit, is now split, and Charles finds himself powerless to stop it. How much more of his family can he afford to lose? The emotional toll on Charles is overwhelming. His heart aches as he watches his wife, once a central figure in the royal family, now cast aside, her role diminished by the very son who is meant to carry the family's legacy. The pain of seeing Camilla's influence slip away is compounded by his fear of losing William's respect, his own flesh and blood. For years, Charles has endured the whispers, the judgments, and the harsh realities of his position. But this betrayal, this fracture between father and son, threatens to destroy him in ways no outsider can understand. The kingdom may still stand, but what of the family? What is a king without his family's support? And what is a father without the love of his son? Frustration builds inside Charles as he contemplates the monarchy's rapidly changing landscape. He has spent a lifetime preparing to be king, upholding traditions that were once seen as unshakable. But now, those very traditions are being questioned by the next generation, his own son. Where does he fit in this new world? Charles has always been the one to play by the rules, the one who sought to preserve the monarchy in its most revered form. But with William's actions, he's been forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. The world is changing, and perhaps he's no longer the man to lead it. His frustration grows as he realizes that, no matter how hard he tries to hold on to the past, it is slipping through his fingers. What happens when the king no longer holds the power to shape his kingdom? Desperate to regain control, Charles turns to the only thing that has always been his anchor, the monarchy itself. He must find a way to protect the crown, to prevent it from being torn apart by the rift in his family. But at what cost? What sacrifices will he have to make to ensure the monarchy survives? The threat of losing everything weighs heavily on him. He knows that his actions now will determine the future of the royal family, but he is trapped between the loyalty to his wife and his duty to the crown. His fear is not just for his reign, but for what comes after. If he loses this battle, the monarchy may never recover. With Charles's reign hanging by a thread, the royal family's future is on the line. But one more twist is about to change everything. The monarchy stands at a crossroads. As tensions reach their peak, one final act will determine the future of the crown. Will Charles concede to his son, or will he fight back with everything he's got? This is the royal showdown you've been waiting for. The moment of reckoning has arrived, and neither Charles nor William is willing to back down. The stakes could not be higher as the weight of centuries of tradition presses down on the royal family. For years, Charles has sat on the throne, believing that his reign would bring stability and continuity. But William's actions have shattered that illusion. And now Charles is faced with a bitter choice: accept that his time has passed and allow William to lead, or fight for control of the monarchy he has spent his entire life preparing to rule. The world is watching, and every decision made in this critical moment will echo through history. The final confrontation between father and son is inevitable. The tension between them, which has been simmering for months, now reaches its boiling point. William, determined to secure his future and reshape the monarchy, is resolute in his belief that change is necessary. He sees himself as the leader of a new generation, one that must break free from the constraints of tradition and chart a new course for the royal family. But Charles, the man who has waited his entire life for this moment, cannot simply step aside. The monarchy is more than just an institution to him. It's his legacy, his duty, his very identity. The anger and betrayal that simmer between father and son are palpable as they come face to face, each realizing that the relationship they once shared may never be the same again. In this moment of confrontation, everything is on the line. Who will emerge victorious, and at what cost? But it's not just William and Charles at the heart of this battle. Catherine, ever the calm and composed figure, has played a subtle but crucial role in this unfolding drama. Some wonder if she is the quiet force behind William's bold moves, carefully orchestrating the shift in power behind the scenes. Her influence, once seen as secondary, is now undeniable. Will she tip the balance in William's favor, ensuring his ascendancy over his father, or does she stand with her husband, fully supporting his decision to challenge the status quo? Catherine's position has always been precarious, yet she finds herself at the center of this battle for the future of the monarchy. Her loyalty to William is clear, but the stakes are higher than ever, and the weight of this final confrontation could change her life, and the monarchy, forever. As the royal family is torn apart by ambition, betrayal, and loyalty, the world watches in disbelief. This is not just a personal dispute between father and son, it is a battle for the very soul of the monarchy. The old guard, represented by Charles and his allies, fights to preserve the traditions that have defined the royal family for centuries. Meanwhile, the younger generation, led by William and Catherine, seeks to reshape the monarchy in their own image, adapting to the changing world around them. The world, the press, and the public are all waiting to see who will emerge victorious in this royal battle. The fate of the British monarchy hangs in the balance, and every move made in this final showdown will determine its future. Then, just when it seems like the rift between father and son may be irreparable, a shocking twist threatens to change everything. What happens next will reshape the monarchy forever, leaving no one unaffected. The drama is far from over, and the future of the crown has never been more uncertain. This royal family, once seen as unbreakable, is now in the midst of its most profound crisis. As the pieces fall into place, the monarchy will never be the same again. This is the story of how a royal family fell apart and how a new one rose from the ashes. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.